Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Johnny Stanton. We have Reginald Perryman and Shaka Williams. We are TSARE, and this is There's Something About Real Estate podcast. No.
Oh.
When I said your name, you made me think of it. So everybody know, every time I say his name, he be like, you be putting that P, put some respect on it.
Right.
So it just made me giggle right there.
You was high
no. Actually, I might still be a little high. I took it. But I could be.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying. Real estate got you down or something? Right.
It do. Jesus Christ. Anyways, we have with us today Mr. Steve Lloyd. Ride the wave. Mr. Boat Guy over here.
Riding wave. That's what this real estate about right now.
Right. Real wave.
Yeah.
So, how's everybody been? This is our second recording because we didn't change clothes or anything, so I'm just going to be, it is what it is.
Are we supposed to change clothes?
We got on the same shirt.
That was last
This is our
week.
second episode.
Right. Yep.
But what's the week been like? What's the week been like, Steve?
Calm. I've been relaxing, clearing my brain. It was a long, 6-7 months of turbulence. But she made it better, a little bit when she could. But the last couple of weeks been cool. I've been just relaxing and thinking about the next thing I'm gonna do, but not thinking too much about,
So a little bit of background. Steve is a client. He is a seller client. And he just got done with it. Was it your first fix and flip?
Mm-hmm.
First fix and flip. So give us a little bit of your background leading up to how you decided you wanted to venture off into real estate. So what do you do? What have you been doing?
I have a epoxy flooring and countertop company. That's like my main company. And then I buy and sell boats and do chartering when I can or when it's appropriate. And so I actually was in the process of buying a boat in Florida, and it went south. So I found myself back in Detroit, and I was like, all right, what am I about to do here besides the epoxy stuff? And real estate, houses kept getting thrown at me. So I was like, you know what? The opportunity presented itself. So I was like, all right, cool, let me jump in it thinking, just grab a crib, fix it up, make about 50, 60, 70,000, And it humbled me, but it was a great experience. I'm kind of glad that I went this route because I learned so much more than if I would have did what I wanted to do. Because right now I'll probably be floating on the boat. I mean, I'd be probably happier, but I'd be much happier, but I wouldn't have consumed so much knowledge and information and, like what I truly wanted to do within the real estate arena.
How did you find the house you invested in?
So I live in the area, but
okay.
I've been really researching that area as far as investment for the last 2-3 years. So I've been watching the market do what it's been doing for the last 2-3 years, and I knew that area is what the area I was gonna buy in. I just didn't know the parameter, what house, yeah. And so I actually was gonna purchase a house across 7 Mile on the other side. It was a bungalow, and it was smaller, and it was the same price, but it was in better shape. And so I was told to get that one. And then I was like, no, I want this one because it just seemed better to me. It was one extra bedroom, and the layout was just a little better to me. And it had a garage, the other one didn't.
What area is the house?
Bagley
Okay.
district. And so I grew up in that area too, so that's I had to get.
He
out.
made the right decision. So you said so he had a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Well, it was 1 bathroom. We added one.
Made it 2 bathroom.
Yeah.
4 bedrooms. And it was is that a colonial? Or what is that?
It's a bungalow, or yes,
Is
it's
that a
basically a
bungalow?
bungalow.
Now,
He
how's
called
that
it a
bungalow?
tutor.
Oh,
A
'cause
tutor,
he-
that's what it is.
I guess the question I'm trying to get answered is, as a new investor, how did you know what you brought was a good deal? Did someone advise you, or was it just your own research?
Yeah. So I look at Zillow often. I have my filter is for 48221, and so every single day I'm getting house sold, house for sale, house sold. So I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, wait a minute, these houses selling for 250, 260, 240. So when I finally was like, I put an offer in on it, it was a house around the corner on Prairie that had sold for 250. And I was like, oh yeah. And then right when I closed, it was a house right on the corner that sold for 280. I was like, oh man, I'm about to make 100,000. I'm thinking I didn't hit a major lick. So, but yeah, that's basically like I just did I do my research on anything that I'm.
So the house that you invested in, was it brought to you by a wholesaler? Or
I just
saw it.
Alert on Zillow.
It popped up on Zillow, and I went. I looked at it.
You seen the price and was like, "Oh, I already know."
Yeah, well, I didn't know at that time. I seen the price and compared to the other one that they were selling for 134 around the corner. Well, on 7, was it Ohio? I think it was on Ohio, right by UAD. I was like, it's the same price range, but it got an extra bedroom and a garage. It got to be more valuable,
right?
He uses brain.
Yeah, and then it's down the street from my house. Literally, I can walk 2 blocks. Well, go up a street 2 blocks over. I'm on that street, so I'm like, this would be perfect. I can wake up, come over here, work, do it. It'd be easy. Than going across town.
Right.
But no, I just found it and I just wanted to get it.
Okay.
It was
the reason I asked that question is because of like a lot of investors, they try to start in real estate and they're like, oh, send me a deal or send me a house. Mm-hmm. So you kind of did, like you just knew the market, you studied the market. Mm-hmm. So when the deal came up, it was kind of like a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. Like this is what the market is and this house is at this price. Mm-hmm. So there's an opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of people do get it twisted, right?
Yeah.
They think that, so we are realtors, right?
Right.
But a lot of realtors are investors as well, right? So what make, you know what I mean? Right. So if it's a deal, like somebody always asking me, yeah, you got any deals? Or other investors say, yeah, you got any deals? Send them to me. Right. If it's a deal, I'm gonna buy it.
Right.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm glad you said that. Like, there are deals that we sell to investors, and we have investors that are solid investors that we work with. We trying to help them get rich because they keep buying houses from us as a realtor, but the perception is most realtors don't invest, and there's a lot of realtors that invest. Mm-hmm. And by the time if that property hits the MLS, it's probably not as good of a deal as you think it is. But it's still a good deal.
Yeah, you still make money.
You can still find good deals, right?
That house was on the market for 3 days before I put in an offer. So the ones that I've been making offers on usually are on the market, but real quick because that house was gonna get sold within the first 10 days because the market in particular
7 months ago we was heating back
April,
up again
March
mm-hmm.
March.
So what do you feel like was a big challenge for you during the rehab portion of it?
Contractors first, like my vision and then my time frame and then just dealing with people, but yeah, that's the main part because I do some of the work myself, so I see things from a certain perspective, and as I'm watching people work, and I'm like, this is not, like, what are you doing? Like, it's not adding up to me, and so letting people, like, finding a place to be able to step out and remove yourself and let them do what they do and still having a certain level of knowledge, it was difficult for me to, like, detach from it.
Right.
So that was that portion, and then spending all this money with him, and then looking up, and I'm looking at this house, and I'm like, I can't put this house on the market like this. So now I have to step in and do things that I don't want to do, that I didn't sign. Well, I signed up when I bought the house, but I didn't sign up to do it because I'm paying somebody to do it. And so that was like the biggest challenge, at least for that part.
So with your contractors, my bad, you was about to say something.
Go ahead.
Oh, with your contractors, so did you hire somebody to do the whole job, or were you just subbing certain people out for certain parts?
So I wish I would have subbed certain people out for certain parts. That was my initial plan and goal. But I met a guy, I actually got referred to a guy, and he said we can do electrical, we can do plumbing, we going to do tear out, we going to do rough in, we going to do it. I'm like, okay. He told me the number. I was like, okay, Cool. I'm like, that actually makes sense because I don't want to do none of that. And so I was like, only thing I wanted to do was parts of the kitchen, parts of the bathrooms. That's all I really wanted to do. And then the flooring, like all of the flooring. Everything else I wanted them to do. And so when we got to the, end of the money and the work, it was like, so what about this? And what about this? And what they're like, oh, well, yeah. And then I even pay extra to do certain things like the trimming and molding. I paid the extra $6,000 to do, but it was just like once it started, it was like they was off doing something else.
Say them the bad contractors that don't understand what Reggie just said, because the goal of the contractor, if you're smart, is to help the investor make his money so he can come back and buy again and hire you back again. Right?
They were the main reason why it was another house right around the corner on Monica, and they were the main reason why I didn't get that house, because it was like I was gonna have them jump right on it. And had they would have did what they said they were gonna do, the money would have been there to put in. It would have just all made sense. But by the time we got to this point, you guys got $30-something thousand, and I'm looking at the house and I'm like, I gotta put another 30, 40 into this house.
Hold on, say that back, run that back. So if they would have did what they did on the first house, you had another one already lined up for them. Right?
During that, like once
people miss out on that so much. Like if you handle this, I already got business lined up for you, and people be like one and done.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And that's just bad business.
I don't get it. Well, they have other things going on, and they regard what you have. They regard this relationship here as small compared to what they have going on over here. They have 50 things going on over here,
right? And
so they don't care about that next one for you because they got 52 more things to do,
right?
And it just kind of so. I wish I would have went that route where I would have been like, okay, I'm gonna hire a plumber to do the plumbing. I'm gonna hire an electrician to do the electrical. I'm gonna hire HVAC to do HVAC. Like, it just
costs a little more, but I guess it depends, right?
I would have been happy.
Time is money too, right?
I would have been happy.
I'm the opposite though. I like hiring a good GC and letting them do everything.
No,
but I know
he didn't hire a GC.
Right.
He hired a guy that does a bunch of shit.
Well, it was a guy with a crew. He had a crew, but he was a GC, but not really. Like he was just he come up. They were foreign too. Pointing them, and I'm listening and I'm watching and I'm like.
So I agree with the GC. The GC is the best way, and to me,
that's what I thought I was doing.
I'm not saying that because I'm a GC, but it really is.
Right.
To me, I'm a GC because for the same reason. You know what I mean? When I first started investing, I had the same issue. Everybody that's the majority of the investors' issues. They don't have issues finding deals. They have issues finding contractors.
Getting it done.
Right.
But Steve would have been, he's not gonna understand what I say, but he would have been mad with you. So what I have to do with Shaka is with a lot of people who come in, I say, you just have to work with them the same way I do. You have to let him finish it. And then if he finishes it and you have a problem, then we have something to talk about. But you probably just have to fall back a little bit. And Steve doesn't really, I think he'll probably do a couple more and then he can get the personality type, but he don't have the personality type to fall back enough to let the general contractor do the things that general contractors do, plus finish the job.
I run into that all the time.
How often did you visit the property?
Every day. He's there several times a day, right?
See, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, so I had a 90-day plan, right? I said 90 days, we should be with the crew he had. 90 days, the house should be on the market. I mean, yeah, it should be on the market, period. Right. He said, we'll have it done in 60. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, look, I'm expecting 90, so 60. If you have it in 60, I'll give you an extra $5,000. I told him that. I'm like, I'll give you an extra $5,000.
Never worked.
That $5,000 don't matter. Like that went in one ear and out the other. So we on day 60, and I'm like, I gave them their space the first 30 days. That was the problem. I should have not gave them that. I was doing other stuff.
Right.
First 30 days. And so when day 60 or when day 40 got here, I was looking, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you gonna be done in 60 days? Yeah, we gonna be done. We gonna be out your way. So okay. So that's when I start popping in daily. Right. So after day 40, day 45, I was there every day because I had to be. Like I had, if I wouldn't have been there, the house would still be getting sold.
So the difference, all right. So to go back to what you said. So I deal with, we're gonna bring them on the show. I got Steve. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are Steve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
people that but you gotta understand they're that person. For two reasons. One, this is a lot of money. You got to remember, it's a house.
Right.
You invested a whole lot of money into it. This is some people's livelihood. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might have invested everything into it. But then in addition to that, the people that they talking to, they don't trust whatever their information that they getting.
Right.
So with me and him, so I don't get into it with, so she think that so sometimes investors, and I know you did on your house because you did a lot of custom stuff in there, and so I'm always thinking from an investor standpoint. So I think that's what she's thinking is like, that's not what you're thinking.
No, I think he explained it. He knew what I meant. So just the
being
amount
there?
he was going.
No, yeah,
it was so. It's often where you may go and do a certain part of the work, and then you'll go away and go do some other stuff, and then you'll come back and do something later. The amount of time that you might be gone for Steve would look like this is not going to be finished on time.
Unless we have a report.
That's what I'm saying. So he don't have a report. He also doesn't have he has this one project he'd been through now. He'll be able to get more experience. But I think that sometimes when you don't understand the temperament, that's part of investing. You have to grow a certain temperament and have a certain understanding. And it is going to be some people that you can't trust, some people that are run off with your money. I don't know who that contractor was and if that was any of it. But I think that sometimes there could be a level of confusion to where somebody could feel like dealing with you, they might be in the same situation, but really they're not.
No, they can't. So
they could. Because I've had to have this conversation with Kelly more than once.
Yeah. So, but she's
they could.
but they can't.
What?
I know exactly what both of y'all talking about.
But listen, hold on. I want to say something though, so that we get an understanding. So she's talking about our projects.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Those my flips.
Right.
So my flip,
y'all be taking long as hell. I'll be like, God.
But I'm not talking about that, so I understand
Bro,
that's
the
part
only
of
thing
it
you
too.
can talk about.
But I've been to other projects as well, and I know how it goes. Boston was one.
Boston. That was my flip.
That was Kelly's flip.
No, I was partner
with you because the other people.
But the whole thing is, I'm not talking about a homeowner that's going to pay them to come. I'm talking about you're an investor.
Yeah,
I'm an investor. We have other things that's going on. I never said he wasn't going to finish it. I said you have to have the patience.
You don't need patience as an investor.
So wait, hold on.
Because I didn't say it wasn't going to get finished on time.
Hold on.
But I said the person has to have enough understanding and patience to be able to see the finished product when it's supposed to be finished.
Hold on. Let me make sure, because I'm trying to understand this from the audience perspective. You're saying if I tell somebody it's 90 days, it's 90 days.
Correct.
And I said the same thing.
But you're saying the same thing. You're just saying some people, if he say 90 days and they go over there 30 days later and they like, wow, he just not demoing the house.
Exactly.
They're going to be frustrated. But you still know you're going to have it done in 90 days.
But I'm also saying that I'm going to be this, he going to know too. So when I
but she's saying like everybody is not gonna accept that because they don't know you.
But they're gonna know that before we start. So before we start, what's the conversation? She keeps saying that. So Janita's saying that she knows 0 investors that I work with. She's talking about Kelly, but Kelly that's my flip.
Right.
So what I'm saying, when I'm working with an investor or anybody that's not my flip, I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna get it done in this amount of time. But I'm not about to be on your house every day.
Right. I mean, that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I just had to I had to step in because he wasn't a real, like, they do work.
Yeah.
Okay. He just wasn't a real contractor, so he wasn't good. He was a manager in whatever he did, but he wasn't a real manager because I understand what a manager does, and I'm looking at him manage, and it's like people have to come back. They do rewire the whole house, and something like the smallest little stuff not working. It's like if you were a manager, you would have went and checked and made sure all of this was done. And now we're past that. We were still dealing with electrical 60 days in. I'm
Right.
like, dude, this socket not working. Like, I shouldn't even be thinking about the socket 60 days. So I had to, like with a real GC, I wouldn't have to deal with that because they know they're checking everything. And when I come in there and I'm, okay, it's done. Like, I don't have to be on every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did we?
Man, I'm so privileged. Right. Because I write a deposit check. I've seen my house once, maybe twice, from the time I closed on it to the time I closed on it.
That's perfect harmony.
And I'm just like, man, I don't even be wanting to look at the
Hold
house.
on, but that's not true though. So what he's saying is true, but the perfect harmony, he's still dealing with the same issues. He just saying he not letting it
get right.
Because I'm not worried about where phase they in. I'm worried about at 60 days we gonna have a conversation. Are we still on track to meet 90 days? So I'm not even over there enough to know what phase they're in. Well, I'm not saying like, are you done with the roof or did you do this? And unless it's a draw involved, then it's a little different because I have to go over there to collect the money to pay you for the next phase of the draw. But that's it. But then that motivates the contractor because they like, hey, we $80,000 into this project. You only paid me $40,000.
But see, I had draws. I just did everything. I did everything real fast paced and real so I had draws.
Right.
But I did it differently. I did it. I ain't gonna say I did it wrong. I just did it in a way that I thought would motivate them to get it done quicker. And that was actually, I should have did it like that. I should have. Right. And this was our first time working together. So it was like a relationship thing. And I'm like, I'm a man of my word. So I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to give you what you want. I just want what I want. You know what I mean? And that's just like, it's just as simple as that. So I'm not even worried about the draws. I am. Because I want, but I'm worried about getting this to the next phase, to the next phase, to the next phase. So we weren't going, and if I would have did it by the draws and by the phase, it would have been better.
Yeah. Right? So they was paid in full, but the job wasn't done.
Well, kind of. Well, no, yes and no. So I was paying them as we were getting to certain, but the work wasn't fully thorough. So I was having to call them back, and they were coming back to do it. Like, it wasn't like they weren't doing it. It just, they weren't.
It wasn't done right. So he was paying them for a phase. And he was paying them for a phase if the phase wasn't really completed. Like,
exactly. Yeah, like the wiring done. Okay, cool. I'm looking. I go check what I know. I'm looking. Okay, cool. And so I'm checking that off my draw list. Like, all right, but I'm not telling the company. I just like, okay, draw done. Here's your $4,000 or whatever it costs to do it. And then it's like, okay, that's done. And then you're done with this. Okay, here's another $3,000 and here's another $2,000. Right. So now I'm 10 in. Right. And now I can get the draw at this point, but now we still going back on the $10,000 worth of work that I paid you for. And that's
so the wiring is in and it looks complete, but it's not working.
Then we can wait. Right. Then we get to the end. Everything done. We're putting the plug covers on. And none of the plugs throughout the whole house, 4-bedroom house, 2 kitchen, bathroom. I pay a guy to adjust all of the stuff, mud, and do all of the stuff that should have been done on the first draw. Right. You know what I mean? Which was in May. I think I got the first draw in May.
So you bought the house when?
April.
Okay, and then you sold the house when?
In my mind, the house was sold in July. No, but a couple weeks ago, October 23rd. Yeah.
Yep. That's the date. Okay, so you finished the work on. How did you complete everything? Like, what was the final? You completed everything. Like, how did you get the finished work done?
Oh, I had to do. Me and my guys had to do that. So that's where we stepped in. Once I was like, here's your last money, get out of my face. I don't even care no more. Don't even come back. Like, you making this experience horrible. Not thank you, just go. Me and my guys stepped in. So that's when we start fixing stuff that, the topical things that they didn't do, finishing the kitchen, finishing the bathrooms, painting, all of the finished work stuff. That's what we did. That's what we had to do to get it done.
So then you went to list the property.
Another debacle. I ain't gonna get too in depth in that, but it got listed once and no traction. Like, I think 7 people came to this house. Now, it's in Bagley and it's this nice house and it's all of this. So I'm gonna just say we are under the impression that once we list it, we're gonna have all these people that want this house. But as I'm looking at, because I do my research, I'm looking at the stuff in the week prior, I'm like, it's other houses coming on this market that's just as nice as mine and that's priced the same, if not lower. And so I'm like, this is the number I want, so I don't care, you know. And so it went on the first time and got 7 people to come through the door, and nobody made an offer for particular reasons. And so that wasted basically 21 more days in August because the first 10 days got wasted like purely. And then that's when me and Johnita finally, I think we linked up like August 10th or something like that, something around there. And that's when she got on it, and then it took her. No, it might have been later than that. It only took you like 7 days to get everything.
Was it the same price?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. We dropped it. We dropped it like 25,000, I think. We dropped it 20 because it was listed for $275, and then we dropped it to $250.
All right.
And so I think that was a good at that point. I told her in the kitchen, I'm like, I don't even care no more. Like, just whatever.
But before that happened though, I tried to get you to list it with me first.
Yeah, she did. So I met her on San Juan on the corner, and then
at the other
Erica, yeah,
what
yeah.
you call it?
And so she had been reaching out to me, but I thought I had my realtor. You know,
Right.
I thought and I'm like I said, I give everybody, like if I say I'm gonna let you list it, like I didn't sign any paperwork with him or anything, but I said I'm gonna let you list it, so do it. And she was like, let me do it. She came and looked at it today. I went and looked at San Juan on our
He
drive.
looked at another one of my listings. So
Yeah.
we met at one of my listings.
Yeah.
And then he strategized his stuff around my stuff. And
Yeah,
then he came to one of my other listings.
Unknowingly, I just got off the plane. Me and my buddy I was like, look, a house just came up on the thing. Let's go look at it. And we went and looked at it, and she was there. I'm like, you look familiar. I'm like, I don't know. And then we started figuring it out. And so then I was like, well, I was being honest. At first I wasn't. I was just in there looking around like, she was like, you want to buy a house? I'm like, yeah, I'm looking to buy. And so then I'm like, look, I got a house down the street that's ready to go on the market. So that's why I came down here, just to see what, people, and you listed that one for $280, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, $280, and mine was listed for $275 at the time, at that actual time. And so
It
talking
wasn't
about
listed
Santa
yet.
Barbara.
it was
No,
listed for under my other guy. Remember, it was listed during that time. It was there.
He's getting two houses mixed up.
Wait, I got a question because I know our viewers gonna ask. What was the difference between? So you were selling houses for $280, $270, or whatever. He was listed at $2. Why do you think his house didn't sell at the price? Was it just as nice as your property?
Well, he ended up getting a $265 offer.
$275.
Yeah.
Right.
My bad. So his house was smaller. Both of those, we could put his house inside of both of those other 2 listings that he's talking about.
Different market too, though.
But that's
so
what I'm
one
getting
of
at.
them. So what I mean is why he's looking like that, because one of them was only 200 square feet smaller. However, those bedrooms were massive in comparison to yours.
That was
were
distinct.
the closets.
Yeah.
So was he
the
just listed
basement.
high from the start?
He was listed too high for his
At the
particular
275.
square footage.
Did you list it based on what you wanted, or did your realtor say, "Hey, we should start at a lower price"?
No, he said he asked me what did I want to list it at. It was mainly what I wanted, and then it was also the comps around the area. So that
But the realtor didn't say, "Hey, I know what the comps say, but this is what you got. You should be at this price."
Not really. I'm trying to give him that. I don't think he didn't really tell me. Like, she came to me and was like, we should list it at, well, first we was in between 250 and 260 or something like that.
Right.
And so the number that I wanted from the very beginning when I first started the thing was 250. That was the number that I said in my brain. Like, when I started, I was like, look, I'm going to list this house for 250 when I first got it.
Right.
And so coming back to that 250 was humbling, but I was like, at the end of the day, that was the number that. Mm-hmm. But I did do some extra things thinking that I was gonna get to 280. So if I would have stuck to the 250, I would have did a few less things in the house, which would have saved me time and energy. But I'm like, I'm about to get 280, so I might as well put plaster on the walls. I might as well put floating shelves in the kitchen. I might, because it's not costing me that much more.
Right.
But it's creating an upgrade compared to what I saw. I was like, this is gonna do. I will do I'm thinking in my brain.
What else was the difference?
You said that. Yeah.
Because so what happened? So when I do a listing, I show the seller I show everything. Like this is everything that's happening right now, and then we back it down based on so I know you looked at this house, I know you looked at that house, but let's talk about how your house actually compares, and why their houses were priced at this point, and why I understand that's 3 doors over, but we have to take these factors into consideration, and then we had some other strategies that kind of changed the dynamic of the
kitchen. The kitchen was a big question mark. So the kitchen, the way I designed it was I left the space for if you wanted to do gas or electric. And so my realtor in the beginning didn't educate me like, look, commit, make a decision, either do gas, either do electric, make sense so that when people walk through the door, they know what it is. So the 7 people that did come through the door, I probably would have got an offer if I had made that commitment, but I didn't. So they walk in the kitchen like, where do we put a stove? What is it? But it's right there. It's an empty big space for it, but people not seeing it. And then there's the bathrooms. The bathrooms like, what's on the walls? What is this? Even though it was nice, it was like, what is it? I think them was the 2 biggest. And then the countertop. So the epoxy, even though I did a quality job on it, like it's not stone. So people, it's
at
not
that price point.
And then he had an open floor concept. So this house, for all intents and purposes, is a bungalow. So like imagine your probably traditional bungalow where somebody opens it up so it feels bigger. So he had this space that when you walked in, it kind of felt a little small, and where am I gonna live at? But then when he came in and he staged the house, it kind of made everything feel bigger in terms of I can sit here, I can live here, I can eat here.
It brought it all.
I can do all these things. So
let me ask y'all this. If that house was listed at a lower price with the first realtor, do you think it would have sold?
I think so. I think I got an offer.
It's hard to say.
I mean, that's just my speculation. I just think, but
we was just in a
do you
bad.
think
we was in that was like we was in a really not good. That's the beginning of where we're at right now.
Shift, So, but when you came in with your advice, do you think having her advice earlier on would have made you say, okay, I'm not going to put the extra in. I'm not going to do this. And I'm just going to work with the 250.
Yeah, I would have worked with the 250. The house would have still been nice, and I probably still would have did some of the things that I did, but I just wouldn't have, I guess... my thought process just would have been different.
He would have had his
and he also had a lot more
expectations would have been different.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is because if you would have had a realtor, like I'm not tooting your horn or not, but if you would have had a realtor that really knows what they're doing while you were rehabbing that property and gave you some guidance, you think you would have had a better outcome.
I would have had a better outcome.
You said that.
I said that from the beginning. I was like, if he would have came to the property more and been involved in the build out and suggested. So my thought, not my thought, but my vision for the kitchen wasn't to leave it open.
Right.
It was to put a high top and put the hood and everything right. Oh, so when you look from the kitchen into the dining room, you have a little water and there's an open. That was my vision. But the contractor and another investor came in there like, leave it open. And I was like, you know what? All right. So had I would have made that decision, or had someone would have been like, you know what? Stick with your first idea, because then that kind of solidifies the kitchen. It kind of separates things, but it keeps it open. That would have helped out a lot.
Okay.
That would I feel like, for sure.
All right, let's move to the closing so we can close. But let's talk a little bit about your. So we had this a bit of a problem because he had, I think, 4 or 5 offers on the table.
Well, 4 real ones. It was 1 just low ball one.
Yeah, it was one that was like really
190 or something.
Serious? Nah, did it come that low? I don't know. But he had about 4 offers on the table, and he had to make a decision then, so he waited a few days. He made the decision. And then, about a week later?
I made a decision on Thursday night. So Friday and Monday, we got an offer.
Yeah, the next week.
Yeah. So 3 days. Was that 3 days?
So let's say he got the offer on like a Tuesday. You got it on like a Tuesday. You took a couple of days to make a decision.
The first offer, the first one we actually took.
The one that you took, it was an above ask price offer. Yep. We got him to do a little bit of an appraisal guarantee. Yep. It was an approval with the bank. Mm-hmm. And real direct bank.
It was a VA loan. It was all like strong looking stuff. That's what I looked at.
Well, he did question the VA because
I questioned it, but the name, the company,
it was the bank. It was Flagstar Bank.
Yeah,
and so all right, so he got that offer, and I'm like, so he's like, should we take the offer? And I'm like, it's got to be your decision. You know what I mean? You have to make the decision, but it's the best offer you have on the table. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Emotional roller coaster. It was like one day she like, it's the only best offer. Then the next day she like, I mean, well, we could. I'm like, come on. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know what? So that's why I was like, look, just give me 2 days to think, because it's like at the end of the day, we're not gonna close no faster. And if they want the house, they willing to wait a day or two, So that's why I kind of waited. But go ahead.
Yeah. So you took, that's fine. And so he finally accepts the offer, and then the next Monday or whatever, he gets a higher offer.
Yeah.
10,000 over that.
Yeah.
Right.
So back to my number. So we back to my number that I start 275. So I'm like, what can we do let's do it. But then it was the 9th, and look, we had our plan and everything. And matter of fact, I know where I was getting some KFC. I'm grabbing my food, and I'm like, something in my stomach. And all of my gut things that I went against in this whole process went against me. Like I went against my gut. Everything I went against my gut came back and bit me. So once we came up with that, I'm eating my food, my son eating his food, and I'm like, I called her back or text. I'm like, listen, no. Stick with the 265, because I think I said an analogy like, you think long, you think wrong. So don't even.
Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, and so I was like, I ain't even gonna trip over the 10, even though I wanted it. I needed it.
And then I was telling him, I was like, man, I could literally just have this happen. And I don't know if people even believe in me or not, because, it do be some, wacky stuff happening. But some of the conversations that we had was like, you can't predict that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You don't drag above ask price offer. They put in their best foot forward to, I mean, what was we going to do? No, we could have waited an additional what?
So I said that. I said that, though. I was like, I wanted to wait through the weekend. Remember? I wanted to wait through the weekend and make the decision on a Monday. But I'm glad I didn't, because we would have made the wrong decision. I would have made the wrong decision,
yeah.
So, what he's talking about, but look at the time frame. So he's talking about, we would have went like 7 days without accepting that good offer that closed. Mm-hmm. So that's what he's saying. He's not saying like we got the offer. We didn't get that 275 offer until the second week.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the first week he had a lot of activity. He got 4 offers. We are in our highest and best phase.
Yeah.
And then he decides to take the highest one. And then the next week after that, he gets the higher offer.
Right.
So he's saying he took, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or so to make the decision. Friday signs off. Monday gets the next
get
one.
An offer from somebody that probably already seen it or something.
Yeah.
They study loan.
They waited too long, and then it's no guarantee it would appraise. It's no guarantee that outcome would have netted you more.
Right.
Even though on paper the offer was 10,000 more, it could have ended up not appraising, or they probably would have had issues with their loan.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
So exactly what you said. I thought about that. Like they could not. Something might come. They might use a credit card. They might be the people to use a credit card before close. And now it just get. And now we.
So something happened. We were supposed to close September 23rd. We ended up closing October 23rd. Or was it the 27th? We were supposed to close
September 27th.
Yeah. We were supposed to close. Yeah. We did not close. And we did not close because the borrower, we talked about this on another show, the borrower put a deposit from a business into her account.
Yep.
And
that's what Eric was talking about.
Yeah. And the lender is basically like, we have an oopsie here. And it's like, what can you do? But they never were upfront or transparent about all of the things. They were already in that week that we were supposed to be closed, and she's filing income taxes. And instead of them just coming and saying, hey, we need an extension, something has come up. And as a matter of fact, we have we have to deal with the IRS. Right. We would know, that this is going to take a few weeks, but instead they're like, we're going to close next week. Right. And then it was like, we're going to close the next week after that.
So I got a question. As the seller, how did that make you feel? Because I always be fighting on behalf of the seller. Like, I got this property, I got stuff to do, I got to take this money elsewhere, or I need to move into another house, or as an investor. Everything she explained, how does that make you feel as a seller?
It makes me feel as a seller, as an investor / seller, because as an investor, moving forward, I would preferably like to steer the buyer to a preferred lender. Like if it was up to me, I would say this house can be purchased at this price or whatever number you offering, but this is our preferred lender because we know how to get you to the finish line. Right. They know how to get you to the finish line. But how it made me feel was just like, I was powerless. I really couldn't. It's just emotional. Like you today we closing and tomorrow we ain't getting the text message back, and then the next day they need this paperwork, and then the next day is you need to fix a brick, and then the next day it's like like,
and that's real.
Yeah, like that's exactly what happened. And I'm like one of them people that if something needs to be done to get it done, I'm gonna get it done.
So what they were trying to do is they were trying to throw the ball back in the seller's court, thinking it was gonna take him like a couple weeks to go and do. Because
he was just
the first thing that we had happen was I'm like I talked to you on a week ago, like earlier in the week, and said send the appraiser back. Mm-hmm. And his response to me was
that was the start.
Did the seller complete the repairs?
Because it was like a list. It was like 6 things. They wanted a door for the garage. Faucet needed to be fixed. It wasn't spraying out. Right. Just some little small stuff that take maybe like 3 hours, in a day. And so it took me a week only because. Well, why did it take me a week? I don't even know why. Because I just wasn't doing it. I had other stuff, but it wasn't stopping anything because. For whatever reason, it wasn't holding anything up. But it only took like a couple hours to do.
But you did your part, and then they came back with all these delays.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a seller, if you got your home on the market, somebody sends you a pre-approval letter, they approve, and they say, okay, we can close this in 45 days, but it takes 80 days or whatever. What position does that put you in? Or in this situation, like they got, when you see a pre-approval letter as a seller and all of a sudden they got like IRS issues or child support issues or whatever, do you feel like they lied to you? Like
I feel like it's part realtor. Right. Not fault, but it's part realtor, loan officer. The communication that they need to have, it needs to be like kind of like fluid. You know, like whether they know them or don't know them, it just needs to be fluid from one end or the next, because it's certain things that maybe Janita can tell them in the beginning that they may not know. Like we're dealing with some rookie loan officer and rookie realtor, so they just trying to say they closed. They don't know that this customer can't put over 1% in, from her business account, or even knowing that he may not even know she had a business. Right. But to ask these necessary, a checklist of questions, and it's not her job to do that, but it kind of is a little bit. It's kind of like, if you know this person is a rookie or this person, it's just best to steer the buyer towards a preferred lender.
You can't steer. So
we can't steer. And see, that's why I'm asking, because
can I say on my listing?
Well,
prefer. Do you have to go through our preferred lender, or you just can't?
As a seller, you can ask what you want, but as a realtor, we can't steer people to a certain lender.
Right.
Now, we can say the seller prefers this, right? But we can't make them go. And you can do what you want to do with any offer you get. You can say, oh, they're not getting a second opinion, or they're not using my lender. I don't want to sell my house. But then you run into other issues, right? So the reason I'm asking this is because a lot of times as a seller, if a buyer presents my client and we present a pre-approval letter, and then you come back with something that should have been known up front when you approved the client, now it puts you in a situation, and then, oh, we got to cancel the deal. Well, you done wasted 90 days of my time.
But I still think, and I could be wrong, but because I'm not a realtor and I'm not in that realm, but I still think we don't have to get those 90 days wasted if we kind of have our own checklist in a bit. But it's things you can't do.
So it's hard.
So it's like, it's
because
like
that's their client on their side. Like even the
hard.
lender you talking about, so they probably start talking to Janita. So at the beginning, a lot of times they be like, bro, get out. Like if somebody came to me asking me questions about my buyer, get your ass out of here. You get what I'm saying? So
because the lender they can't disclose certain stuff to the seller's agent.
Right, okay.
Right? I'm working for you as a seller.
Yeah.
Well, they got privacy laws, but then they got fiduciary duty too.
Right.
So we have to take the pre-approval at face value. Right. So when I'm representing you as a seller, I say, oh, they're pre-approved. This lender or the loan rep sounds confident that they can get this closed, but maybe the buyer didn't tell them about they owe child support, right? So now the buyer then tied you up. They got everybody working to get this deal done, but I guess that's the
it's a gamble.
It's
the nature of the beast.
No, it's nothing you can do about it.
He was like, you made this call. I'm like, look here, I didn't already overstep. I'm telling them every minute where I'm about to overstep.
I'm telling her like, look, we need to. I'm an adamant person too. So like that's where our personalities kind of mesh. Like I understood she was doing everything she could do, but I'm still gonna ask. Like, did you ask this?
Right?
Could you like what about this? Like, well, let's talk to somebody to see, because at the end of the day, we human. We miss, we slip.
He started problem solving in his head like, shit, this ain't that hard.
I'm like, no, it ain't.
And he's smart too. Like the crazy thing is, some people will come at you saying some stuff that's retarded, but Steve will ask a question, and I'd be like, makes sense. And then he'd been to put something together already in his head, and I'd be like, yep, that's probably exactly what happened.
Because my first house that I ever bought, I was 20 years old, and I ended up having to be my own loan officer. Really, I had to literally. I'm fulfilling the stipulations, and I'm going to get the paperwork. And the next day, they're like, "Okay, well, you got that, so now we need this." And I'm like, "Why don't y'all just tell me what I needed from the beginning? Like, just give me a list of everything, and I go get it. And then we get here, and okay, well, now we need the letter saying this, and now we need." And I'm like, "What?" So I went through it at such a young age, and I understand. And I go through other like aspects of like the financial institution system or whatever, and banking system, and not a lot of smart people in that.
Right.
In that
So look,
it's like, give me a checklist, I get it all and bring it back.
Yeah,
right.
A clean file.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, just let me.
Okay, so we got to wrap it up. We've been talking a little bit, but what's next for you?
Okay, so what I learned is I'm not gonna invest a chunk of money into one property. I'm gonna either, what's the saying, OPM.
Yep.
We're gonna do that more so because I did utilize. They called it a line of credit, but I guess it was hard money. I don't know what it was, that company, but I utilized that. But this time around, I'm only gonna utilize a certain portion of my own money, and then I'm gonna invest again. It's just I feel like it has to be like a 100% win. Like, I don't want to get a property because I just want a property to fix up and just be like, oh, it might. I want it to be like, okay,
right.
This 20,000, how much? 150. Okay, 20,000. How much? Okay, all right, cool. We gonna clear for sure 40,000. Let's do it. If it's not that or more, I don't want to.
You ain't gonna be able to do that. So don't even. That's what don't do that.
Yes, you will. That's how I invest.
No, that's not true.
Like, it has to be
like a window.
I'm not forcing the deal to work.
Yeah,
but you can't. So for example, when he bought that house in March, so I'll say even right now. So when he bought that house in March, if the market would have stayed where it was at then, he would have got his $275 or maybe even more.
Yeah.
But because the market does what the market do, you can't determine what the market.
I just got a question though. In 7 months, how do you feel like the return on your investment? So from getting the property to closing on the property on acquisition, closing on the property for resale, how do you feel like the return on your overall dollar did?
I mean, we could just work a regular job.
What?
It wasn't that great.
Man, no, hold on.
After paying Janita, after staging, after back and forths, after ups and downs, after this and that. I mean, the profit, like as understanding money is like, okay, it wasn't bad, it wasn't a horrible, but as much energy, time, stress. Ups and downs,
you gotta do it like Reggie.
bloody eyes.
I'm so glad he said that.
I'm just curious
2-3
though,
in the morning.
but look,
but it ain't worth. I mean, it's worth it.
So you said just work a job.
No, I didn't say work a job. I'm saying it's like it's
it's
the
like
income,
working a job.
the income that you like.
It's stressful.
If you go to work and make $1,000 a week, you make $4,000 a month. Okay. That's basically what it was. But it was a lot more stressful than working a job because this is my money, this is my livelihood, this is my life. So if this don't go right, every day that we didn't close after, was it August? I'm losing money every day.
That's what he was asking.
Every day, every day, it's like you spending money and you're not even spending money. So then if something else come up in life, like, I don't know.
He want to buy a boat. He keep missing these boats.
Man, if I would have bought a boat, it would have been a totally different scenario. Now, I wouldn't have learned. I'm glad I learned what I learned. But if I would have bought a boat, I would have been whole way quicker. I would have had an asset that I could have went and refinanced and did it a different, you know what I'm saying? I could have maneuvered my money. I would have been whole way sooner, and I would have had a happier life. I would have just had a smile on my face.
So Steve said he's still gonna buy another house and we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna have him come back. That's a wrap.